Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Me and Who Else. For today's episode, we actually have another co-host. You guys have seen him everywhere. He is the original podcaster, especially in the Hispanic community. I'm so excited to introduce him to you guys. But first, we do have a quick ad break. Before we continue on today's video, we do have a sponsor. I want to thank today's sponsor, the Paired app. Paired is a relationship app designed to help couples strengthen their bond by improving communication and deepening emotional connections. Through daily conversation starters, expert-backed advice, and fun activities, Paired makes it easy and enjoyable for couples to engage in meaningful conversations and celebrate their relationship milestones and build lasting memories together. Unlike other apps focused on dating or conflict reduction, Paired is dedicated to nurturing and enriching existing relationships and offering tools that empower couples to communicate better, grow together, and maintain their love long term. It's just an easy way to take care of your relationship by answering some fun questions and quizzes. And as we all know, I am a single queen. And one day when I do have a partner, I can get on the app and just either record ourselves answering these questions and just make it super fun. And if we might be struggling a little bit, having like little bumps on the road, we can also get on the app to try to reconnect. So not only is it a fun app for couples, but it also does help you visualize and plot all these beautiful memories that you have created with your partner to make sure that your relationship is going strong. And you can click the link in my description box below to get a 7-day free trial and 25% off Paired Premium to deepen your connection with your partner or to reconcile your connection with your partner. I'll leave the link in my description box below. And with that being said, let's get started on today's new episode. So for today's new co-host episode, we have one of my very longtime friends. We've been knowing each other since we started social media together. And like I said, he is probably the original podcaster on these platforms. I'm so excited to introduce you guys, Alannized.
Hello! Aplausos, amigas, levántense. I'm like aplausos. Hello. I am so excited to be here.
Oh my God, Alan, you have no idea how excited because you are like literally like the OG when it comes to any podcast.
You know what's so funny? Like, okay, I'm gonna say this because I literally was having a conversation with my friend. Mm-hmm. I don't hate it. I hate you. No, I get awkward when people like me dan mis flores, like when they give me my flowers. Yeah. I'm just like, oh, thank you.
Like, I don't know how to show
next.
Yeah.
I just feel like, you know what it is? I don't know how to like. What is I just get awkward or I just don't know how to react. Even when people are like, oh my God, I've been watching you for a long time. Like when I have people on my podcast, they're like, this is a dream come true. And I'm like, what is? I'm like sitting next to me. I'm like, porque yo no me la creo. You know what I mean? I'm just very much like, oh, thank you. But thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here today.
No, literally, I feel like I've been wanting, Alan, you were like on my top 5 list because I'm just like, I need to get the original bad bitch here.
No, you guys, I want to say this was actually a while in the making, bitch. I was telling Elsie, you guys, I felt so bad because the amount of times I rescheduled, I was like, no way, yo voy a salir bien cancelado de esto. Like, I literally was like, please, Elsie, don't fucking cancel me. I rescheduled
like
3 times.
I think it was, well, to be fair, I rescheduled once, and then Alan rescheduled like 100 times. And now, okay.
Bitch, not me dropping the water de los nervios. I'm like, voy a salir cancelado. But to be fair, though, the time you canceled, it was like literally as if God heard my prayers. You know why? Okay, so the reason why, you guys, if you guys have been keeping up with me, the reason why I was very unprofessional just this whole month, I feel like lo que es marzo y abril, my month is like all over the place. I have literally like 6 birthdays this month. But like, you know, like those birthdays that you can't miss, like you have to be there. I had my cuñada, I had my nephews, my birthday's tomorrow.
Bitch.
Yes, bitch. I've been like,
why haven't you spoken about it?
Because I've been just like on the go. I'm like, okay, let's do this, let's do that. We got to make sure that yesterday was my nephew's quinceañera. So we did like a little party at my house. So the day that we filmed, we were supposed to film what, Wednesday?
I think so, right?
Let me tell you a little funny story, you guys. That day that we had scheduled to film, that was already like the 3rd time rescheduling. And I had told you, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm not going to reschedule anymore. I promise it's going to happen Wednesday. Y Wednesday va a pasar, right? So, bitch, I was so stressed out like the whole week because I was like, okay, I'm planning my birthday photo shoot, which was the day after we were scheduling to like film.
Oh, that's
and
right.
And then I was like planning, I had an event that I had to go on Saturday, and then Sunday I had like the whole quinceañera, which I planned in like 3-4 days. And the night before we were supposed to film with you, I was stressing out because I was going to go ahead and come and film. Then I was going to go to the stores and hopefully find an outfit for my birthday photo shoot the next day. And then I had to go back home and finish editing Noche de Pendejadas, which, bitch, you know, editing these podcasts takes a fucking while, you guys. So I fell asleep. And I was already stressing, like, oh my God, like, I don't know how I'm going to make it happen, but I'm going to fucking make it happen, right? I had texted you, like at 1? Like, let me know what we're going to talk about so I can be prepared.
Yes,
me respondiste, right? And I was like even more stressed because I'm like, oh my God, like, I have so much in my head going on que no me puedo, like, concentrar. And I go to sleep, right? And I'm like, oh my God, like, this is good. I've been having a lot of issues with sleeping lately, too. Like, I've been taking, like, melatonin. Yes, that's how much, like, my head's been everywhere.
You've just been doing so much.
Like, when I go to sleep, bitch, like, you know, like that 1:30 minutes where, like, you're, like, just knocked out, like, pretending to fall asleep so you could actually fall asleep. During those, like, 20-30 minutes, my head just races with everything, like, that I have to do. Like, oh, remember, tomorrow
you're like, my taxes, my this, my that.
My taxes, everything. Like, me empiezo a acordar de todo lo que tengo que hacer. So that night, I couldn't sleep. I fell asleep, like, at 2:30 maybe. And I had to wake up really early. I woke up with my eyes all puffy because of how tired I was. And then God listened to me. I'm like, and then God heard my prayers. I wake up and the first thing I see your text message at like 5 a.m. Elsie texts me, you guys, this big ass paragraph. She sends me a picture of like the editing that you were doing.
Like the screen and stuff.
And she's like, oh my God, I just got done editing. Mind you, she sends this message like at 5 a.m. She's like, I just got done filming. Is there any way we can reschedule? If you can't reschedule, like, it's okay. I'll just go home and sleep for 3 hours and I'll make it happen. Bitch, when I saw that message, I was like, no, rest up.
Yeah, you did tell
I was
me
like,
that.
you deserve some rest, my
You're
love.
like, sleep nice, queen.
Literally, I'm like, oh my God, no, dude, do your thing. But I was so excited because, not that I was excited, but I was just happy because I was like, oh my God, this couldn't have like worked out better because I was able to go shopping that morning.
Yeah.
Like during the time frame that I was going to be here, I went shopping, found my outfit, then went back home, edited.
Okay, perfect.
Y perfecto. Pero aquí estamos.
I know. That's finally, we are here. I know because the last time I did reschedule, I felt so bad, but I'm like, I honestly don't think I could film this episode because I'm going to be running on like either 2 hours to 3 hours of sleep. My social battery is already gone because I had just filmed the day, that same day. So on Tuesday, I had to film on Tuesday, and Wednesday morning at 5 a.m. is when I text you, and I'm like, and I have to upload this. Like I still was doing like little edits on the episode that dropped that day, and I was like, I can't do this.
No, I love it though when you said, it's okay though if you can't reschedule. I'll just sleep 3 hours. I'm like, bitch, sleep 8. I'm like, don't
like
wake up. No, but I was really excited because I mean, I'm excited to be here, but I was when we rescheduled. Because then we were gonna film on Friday.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then I literally was stressing out because I'm like, oh my God, I have to prep for so much this weekend that I literally texted Elsie. I was like, can we do Monday, aka today, you guys, para que sepan? Y ahora sí me quedé con mi palabra. But I was like, if we do today, I promise I won't reschedule. Because this week, aunque es mi cumpleaños, mañana lo tengo más calmado. So that's, even though you were like scared, you were like, oh fuck, I don't want to reschedule. That was the best news I received that morning. Like, so it worked out. Don't feel bad.
No, honestly, thank you so much for even coming. Because I'm like, I really want Alan on this podcast, especially because Alan and I, we go way back.
Yes.
Let me tell you, we've met, I want to say even before I know you were kind of on social media already, but I wasn't really like on the influencer. I was OTD, like the headless, like OTD pictures, and it was just for OTD Fash.
You know what's so funny? I actually got a story, like a Snapchat memory.
Oh, yes.
During the time we met. I met you, like in 2015?
Do
you remember how we met or no? I'm like testing her.
I'm like,
did you do your homework or no?
Yes. So we actually wait. So I know we met. Didn't we meet through OTD? Because we contacted you to come model for us.
No, before that.
No,
so I was doing seminars. Supuestamente yo muy makeup artist, you guys, y apenas me sabía hacer mi maquillaje. I was doing makeup seminars, and I remember you guys reached out through like someone else. Y me acuerdo, you guys, I was so shook because when people sponsor you, like they'll give you like one little makeup product, like one little thing undone, like give us a shout out type shit. And Elsie and OTD Fash, you guys, a cada persona that went to my seminar, you guys gave them a whole goodie bag. And like apart from my goodie bag, y'all had your own goodie bag with like a lot of cute stuff. And I think that was like our first time kind of like working together.
Oh, yes.
And then after that, that's when I started coming over to your guys's stores.
Yes. I do remember that because Alan used to have like makeup seminars.
Yes, I do. And you guys sponsored, I think you guys sponsored like maybe 2 of them.
Yeah.
But that was like their first time meeting. And you know what's funny? I was, you remember the mirror you guys gave me or no?
The IKEA one.
The IKEA one. Okay, so I still have it.
Oh, you do?
I still have it. It's upstairs. It's my only like full body mirror in my house, other than like the mirrors que stand by my table. But those came with the house. And I was thinking about it. I was like, babe, isn't that crazy? Like, that's the mirror that Elsie and the OTD Fash team gave me. Todavía lo tenemos. It's been what, like 7 years?
No, I feel like it's been longer.
It's been longer. Yeah. Because I remember you guys also gifted me a camera.
Oh, yes, we did.
I see, yo me acuerdo, you guys.
Yes,
I'm over here like clocking it. I'm like, do you remember this?
Because I do remember like you would come to our studio in West Covina, and then I even have a full video with Danny on YouTube.
Yes,
you guys, if I find any footage or pictures of us, I have to post it on here. But I remember I filmed a whole video for him on his channel.
It's still up on his channel, I think.
Oh, is it? I think I was like styling him or something. I forgot what I was doing.
You guys were you know what was so funny? Going back to like the mirror thing and the camera, I don't use the camera anymore. But you know, like, do you have like a little stash with all like your cameras and stuff or no?
I'm like, I don't know where my stuff is.
You're like, I don't even know. I'm not even using my own cameras right now. I literally am clock it. No, but I have like where I have even the cameras I don't use, I have them. And I was going through like my cameras just to see lo que tenía. And I found the camera you guys gifted me, and I was like, oh, I was like, this brings me back so many memories.
What was it? Was it the Canon?
It was the big Canon, the Rebel T something. Yes. You know what was so funny though? I don't think I ever like fully used it to film because at the time I was very insecure about my makeup. So bitch, to film on a Canon, that means 4K, like HD. My makeup wasn't good at the time, so they were gonna see that it wasn't. So I used to film on the Sonys because they would like blur you out.
Yeah, they have that little effect. I'm like, I still film with those.
They're like, yeah, same. I love Sony because of that, you guys.
It has the like, Paris filter.
It literally does. And I love it because I'm like, wait, even if I know my makeup isn't giving that day, prendo la cámara and it will be. I'm like, it will be
like
giving.
free Facetune, but on video, which
but
is
then it's like,
crazy.
No, I didn't put an extra filter. I'm like,
the
what
camera
do you
just filmed me like that.
It's the camera, literally.
I feel like it has been a while since we've known each other, but I also feel like it's been a while since we've seen each other. I'm like, what have you been up to?
What, like 6 months?
Has it?
More?
No, I don't honestly. Oh wait, the last time we saw each other was at the Waka Bay House that night. That was a long time ago. Carlita? Yeah. No, wait, was it? Oh, yes.
It was the twins launch party.
Yes. The Ortiz twins.
It's been that long, you guys. No, I feel like, you know what's so crazy? I will say, because we have like texted in between, you know, whatever. And it's been so crazy. I feel like my life has been all over the fucking place, especially after my grandpa passed away.
Yeah.
I feel like como que tuvo un momento where I literally wasn't like, I always like to explain it that I was like, I always felt like I was on flight mode. After my grandpa passed away, I feel like I never took like a moment to grieve. I never took a moment to like really feel what I had to feel. So after that, I felt like I was just like on an airplane mode where I was just like, you gotta do what you gotta fucking do to survive, bitch. Like, oh, this is what you gotta do that. Y no pienses de nada más. So I feel like during that time, I don't know. I feel like my life has been all over the fucking place, but somehow, some way, it like falls into place. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, I don't know. I like to explain it as in like, I don't even fucking know what I'm doing, but I guess I'm doing something good.
Right. No, yeah, because I feel like something about Alan, and I feel like I've always seen this about you, especially being like side by side with you for all these years. I feel like one thing you're going to do is work.
Yes.
It don't matter what, like, it doesn't matter what you're going through. You are always working. You're always doing something.
I feel like, you know what it is? It's like a distraction.
Okay.
I feel like for me, when, because, you know, I've mentioned this multiple times, the day my grandpa passed away, I actually, you know, after crying all morning, got my shit together, and I actually filmed an episode that night of Noche de Pendejadas. And I feel like that first day that I worked, like during grieving actually was like a very like, oh, this is what you're gonna do to like get your mind off of shit. And at the beginning, a lot of people were like, Alan, like you don't even gotta work, take some time off, like feel what you gotta feel. And I feel like as a human being, I'm very much the type of person that doesn't want to like feel what they want to feel. So they'll kind of just be like, you know what, life's life, you know, you're not the only one going through it. There's people going through it worse. So ponte a trabajar, mijito, porque no tienes tiempo para estar triste, para estar llorando por algo que no puedes arreglar. And for me, like, I feel like even though my grandpa's death was really hard on me, I feel like it was one of those things that I'm like, okay, si me pongo a llorar, ¿qué va a pasar? ¿Va a revivir mi abuelito? No. Entonces, haz lo que él hubiera querido que hicieras, which was continuing with life. Because one thing about my grandpa, I feel like also what made it so much, not easier because I feel like I'm still dealing with that. Yeah. I feel like one thing that has helped me a lot with this whole grieving journey was that, you know, my grandpa was very tired leading up to him dying, right? Like he was very tired. Even when he was good before he started getting like really ill, like he was always just sleeping. I have so many pictures of after him eating, he would sit down in the couch and like 5 minutes later, roncando, right? Like I have so many pictures. So one thing that really like gives me peace is like, ya está descansando.
I know.
Like he's finally resting. But yeah, I just rambled on about my trauma. That was not even the question. What was the question? How I've been all over the place.
But
I've been surviving.
No, but I feel like it's good that you bring it up because I think that not a lot of people see that side of you, because you are usually the one talking to people. You are asking people, oh, like, how are you? Like, how did you grow up? Like, you know, like, and you're kind of, and I feel like you also grasp a lot of people's traumas. Yeah. So I think that you trauma dumping could be good. Because it's like, I feel like you probably need it.
I do. You know what it is? I don't talk about it too much. Even with like my boyfriend, with my friends, like I have this thing that it might like sound weird. And I don't know, maybe I do need to have like a moment where I do have to have a moment to like sit down and feel it. Yes. But I feel like for my sanity, I'm just like, no, bitch, just continue working. Like, really? I think that's how I cope with it though. Because, eso es lo que les iba a decir. I have a retrato de mi abuelito. I have like a picture of him in my living room. And it's the first thing you kind of have to see when you come down the stairs from my house. And there's times where I don't even like looking at the picture directly because then it's gonna like land me. Yeah. It's gonna make the plane land. Like it's gonna be like, bitch, feel what you gotta feel. So there's times like, I'm not even kidding, it sounds so bad. Like when I have a lot of things going on, I just kind of like look down while I'm passing his frame to like not like remember. Because in my head, yo pienso que todavía está vivo. Because como murió en México, and then I didn't get to say goodbye to him. I didn't get to be there his last moments. No, well, I mean, they live in Mexico, but they would always come like 6 months here, live with me, and then 6 months back home. So when he passed away, he was in Mexico, and I feel like the person that like has been dealing with the grieving the worst has been my sister, because como ella tiene sus papeles, she was able to go to Mexico, and she was able to see, you know, me cuenta that like during his last couple of days, like he was literally like pooping in bed, you know, toxins, like pues ya lo miró en lo peor, my sister. So my sister has that like vision in her head. My last vision of my grandpa is me hugging him, telling him have a good trip.
And he was like happy.
And he was happy. He was like, we'll be back, whatever, you know. So I feel like because I didn't get to see him like down bad, I guess, like, or in his worst state, mentally, I'm just like, oh, when are my grandparents coming back? You know what I mean? My grandma's been back alone already. And I feel like it was funny because on my sister's birthday, we went out to eat. And I feel like this is how disconnected I am from like the grieving. Like we went out to dinner. We went to like a mariscos place for my sister's birthday. And my grandma went, my tias, you know, my siblings, todos fuimos. And I sat next to I sat with like my friends. And then like midway during the dinner, I sat next to my grandma. And bitch, tell me why I fucking was like, oh, ¿cómo está mi abuelito? Like, se quedó en la casa de mi tía. Me, like, and then I caught myself and I was like, oh shit, bitch. Like, what do you mean, ¿cómo está tu abuelito? Like, it's been like 3-4 months. But because mentally, como que todavía no lo he aceptado. And I'm just like, life's lifing. Go on with your life. como que todavía it doesn't sink in. You know what I mean?
God,
it's like weird.
No,
I don't know, I just feel like I've been all over the place.
Yeah, and I think that as your friend, like I tell this to everyone that I'm close with, I would highly advise, obviously, like, you know, I feel like people grieve differently and I feel like it comes in waves.
Yeah.
But definitely take the time to actually feel it. Because I feel like the more you do bottle it in, you're just going to feel so much worse. And then I don't want to like obviously overstep or anything.
No, do it. Overstep.
I'm like, okay. But I can kind of sense and I'm getting like the feeling that you are hurting inside. You get me?
No, for sure. I feel like for sure. But you know what it is? I feel like as a person, and I feel like, you know, we're talking a little bit about it last night. I just feel like not just so much people depend on me, but I just feel like I have so much on my plate. Working so much keeps me occupied. And when I opened up about it, like on my channel, I had a lot of mixed people like, bitch, like grief, like take some moments to like relax and like take it all in. But then I also get a lot of people like, no, that's how I grieved, like keeping myself occupied. So I feel like you said, I feel like people just grieve differently. And I feel like for my sanity, I'm just like, I think I'm very much like, what are you gonna do by crying about the situation?
No, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
like
feel
for
like,
me.
No, yeah, because I feel like some people, yeah, like I said, I feel like some people grieve differently. And I think what helps me is like, for example, I feel like I really do have to sit there. Like I have to go in my closet, or like I have to, like, I feel like my closet is like my little hiding spot. And I literally have to sit there and cry. And Alan, when I tell you that when I'm crying about something, I cry with like snot
like so
and
emotion.
mocos, and I'm just on my knees praying, and I'm just like, and you have no idea how that much helps the next day. And I'm like wow, life really is life. But I end up like, I feel like when people, well, actually no, I think it depends. When some people do bottle in like their emotions and stuff, that's when they start deceiving like the blessings, and they start like kind of like not seeing like the good in everything.
I think it's also, you know, I hate crying.
Really?
Because crying is so exhausting.
All these years that I've known you, I've never seen you cry before.
I just think crying is so fucking exhausting.
You're like, it's a full-time job.
No, it really is. Like, I
that
cannot.
Is so funny.
Like, okay, like I can cry. Okay, I will be honest. Like every single time I've cried, like me siento bien cansado. I'm just like, bitch, that was so exhausting. Like, I do not want to do it again. Well, not even embarrassing, because I'm not the type to cry like in front of people. Like even I'm the type to like, me meto al cuarto, I'm watching old videos, listening. There's a certain song that every single time I listen to it, even though ya me la sé de memoria y ya parece pinche disco rayado, like I'll cry because it reminds me of my grandpa. But like, it's just so exhausting. So I'm just like, no. Mejor el día que para llorar tengo que prepararme. I'm like, I feel like I have to prepare myself physically, emotionally to fucking cry. Because I don't know how some bitches do it, crying all the time. Like, it's so emotionally draining on me, for me.
No, yeah, I could see that.
Do you feel refreshed though? Like, when you cry, do you feel like, or how do you feel after crying? I'm like, anyways, Noche de Pendejadas, like your turn.
No, yes, I feel like crying makes me feel like a whole new person. But I think because I'm not saying that you don't acknowledge your feelings, because obviously you know you're hurting. But with me, I feel like I sit there and I'm just like, okay, this is what's bothering me. This is what, you know, this is what's making me mad. This is what's making me sad. So let me just actually feel it and tell myself like, for example, I'm gonna just pretend I'm mad at this fucking candle. And I'm like, I fucking hate this candle. Like, and I cried out and I just let everything all out. When I tell you that I feel like a brand new person, I'm like, and I think that it starts with obviously acknowledging how you're feeling. And I feel like you're already there, because obviously you can acknowledge that, okay, you know what, I'm not really okay, but I still have to keep it pushing.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. The trying to keep it pushing, because prior to my grandpa, you know, I've always suffered with depression. You know, I've always suffered with like a lot of like, you know, just mental health vibe shit, you know, and I feel like I've already been in a very dark place, and I've always been very much like, you know, crying about a situation, feeling sorry, feeling sad for so much like periods of time isn't going to solve the issue unless you like get up and do something about it. I'm very much like big on that. So I'm very much like, we got to keep it pushing, you know, like, but you know what's so funny though? I'm not going to lie. Before my grandparents passed away, well, my grandparents, if you guys have been following me, especially on my dad's side, even though I don't have the best relationship with my dad, but I feel like my grandparents on my dad's side are like my second parents. Even at one point, yo los considera mis primeros papás, right? Like I loved them more than my actual parents at one point, prior to my grandpa even passing away. If I've already had like my dark moments, that I feel like now it's like I allow myself to be sad. Un día, amigas.
Yes.
Un día, ponte a llorar, desahógate, siéntete triste, pero luego levántate. Porque si te quedas en ese pinche mismo lugar, no te vas a salir de ahí. Crying, being sad about whatever situation. It can be death. It can be, you know, if you're in a bad financial situation. Whatever it is that you're crying or sad about, allow yourself to feel it. I'm very big on like, but don't fucking just stay there.
Yes.
Like, mi amor, levántate, ya salgo del momento, de lo que está pasando.
No.
You know, I'm very big on that.
No, yeah, same. And I think that's why I'm like, I have to sit, whether it's at night or in the morning, I have to sit there and let out my emotions. Because if I don't, that's when I'm like, oh shit, I'm not mentally here to go work. You get me? So yeah, I would always, like, I always tell my friends this, you have an hour, cry it out. And then the next hour, come on, get up. Like, we're going to go to the gym. Like, we're going to go do something, because I think that it puts you in a deeper depression if you just stay still.
I kind of como que vivo mi propia vida. Yo como la machine. Ow, Demi Lovato.
Oh
No, I do
God.
really feel like I feel like my mind has created like this like world where it's like everything's good, like your grandparents are in Mexico, like keep working, keep hustling, que no me da tiempo para estar triste a veces. Even though I am. There's times where I'll touch grass and I'm like, oh shit, my grandpa's gone. But I'll be sad in that moment.
Because honestly, I'm all for like, yes, we have to be sad and work. But I'm like, it kind of sounds like really sad you talking like this, because it's like,
you're like, cry.
I'm like,
cry me a river.
No, I'm like, when the cameras are off, Alan, you have to cry.
No. But I feel like I'm really good with my emotions too.
No, yeah. But like, yeah. So I think that as a friend, like I would definitely like tell you like,
cry.
No, like not when you obviously like on your own time. Just make sure that you also check up on yourself.
Yeah. 100%. I think that's one thing I've been trying to do.
Yes.
Like for my birthday, for tomorrow, right? Like everyone, we were celebrating my nephew's birthday yesterday, his quinceañera, and everybody's like, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to have a party? Originally, I was going to have a party this weekend, but then we canceled it like literally like 3 days ago. And I told Danny, I was like, you know what? Let's just go to the spa.
Oh,
I want to fucking just relax.
Yes.
I don't want to have to deal with work. I don't want to have to everything. I just want to chill. I feel like I already party enough.
Yeah.
I already am like going through it enough. I'm already working a lot that I just want to chill. I don't want to feel like my birthday I have to entertain anyone because believe it or not, I love hosting. I love hosting parties, but it is a job. Like it is like I used to not like
even if it's your birthday, I feel you still have to host people.
Like at my big birthday party, I was exhausted the first hour.
The Halloween one or which one?
My 25th birthday with Danny when we were like all pink.
Oh yes,
I was exhausted, girl. Like I remember at one point because there was like 200 people at the party and everyone wanted their pictures, right? I was taking pictures the first 2 hours and it got to the point like, you know what? Ya no quiero más. Like, I don't want, I'm here to have fun.
Yes.
Y entretenerme. Catch pictures of me with me like during el desmadre, pero yo ya no voy a hacer meet and greet. I'm like literally, because hosting is a big job.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like,
especially when it's your, I feel like when it's your birthday, there's so much pressure and you're just like,
actually. I have to talk to everyone. If not, they're going to get butthurt. Literally. Lately, I've been trying to start mixing my friends and my family, but I used to not because I'm like, fuck. Like, you know, like you have different friends for different things and different
I always
combos.
say that. I feel like you have different friends for different occasions.
I am so blessed with that. I will say that I have a lot of friends. You know, I have a lot of childhood friends that are still in my life. Bless God, bless them. But one thing I will say, like there's conversations that maybe me and you have, chismes that we have, that maybe they'll be like, nada que ver, me vale ver, type shit. So to me, it was very much like I would not mix because I'm like, dude, I could not like entertain here.
Yes,
with the topics here, and then have to come over here and be like, what's the topic over here? But I've gotten better. I've gotten better because it's like, mi amor, tienes que estar en todo.
I feel like with some friend groups, you just cannot mix them.
Yes.
Because I also do have like my best friends who are all of like my childhood best friends, and to this day we're super close. We're still really, really good best friends. But I also have like my social media friends, and I'm like, well, I like it, you know, I feel like there's different conversations going on. There's different humor going on. And then I feel like it's different.
It is different.
Yeah. And then I also have like my older business friends. And there's like, I'm like this.
You're like this. You're all
so like, what stock is happening now? And I'm like, this is boring, but okay.
No, but it is a thing.
No, 100%.
Now imagine combining all of them in like a little kickback.
I feel like I would have to be the professional one.
I get anxiety like that. Like,
no, same.
Because then sometimes I'm like, what if my friend says something out of pocket and this other friend's caught off guard, or like vice versa?
Yes.
Uno nunca, o qué tal que no se caigan bien y yo amo todos mis amigos equally, and what if this friend group thinks that this friend group is like staring, which hasn't happened. Me, I think I'm just like mentally, I think of one thing about me. If you know me on a personal level and like you're with me every fucking day, I'm an overthinker. I'm over here thinking of like worst case scenario. Like I'm walking, like if I'm like recently we went to New York and we were like walking down like the bridge, not the London Bridge, the Brooklyn Bridge. And Danny was like all taking it in. He was like, wow, so gorgeous. My first thought was like, oh my God, like let's move out of here, because what if this falls and like aquí quedamos. Danny's like, why do you have to run? I'm like, you have to be prepared. Because but you'd be surprised. Sometimes the things I think about like that can happen will happen. With people, like I'll be like I'm very, with my cuñada, she likes to think that, I like to think also when people ask me for advice, I'm that friend that will give you advice in my opinion, because you're asking me. Like, I like to think, like, si tú me estás preguntando, like, hey, what do you think about this? I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. And but I think that's one good thing that people love about me, especially like my friends, like my cuñada, right? My cuñada loves hearing people's opinions. Everyone's like, yes, yes, yes. But then she'll come, what do you think? Because she knows I'll like call it like, oh, maybe not this, not that. I mean, it never comes from like a bad place. I'm always thinking like, I see the bigger picture. I see more potential. I see baddie. I see like, I'm always thinking like, yeah, but it's just like, I like to give my opinion because I'm like, oh, but like, I see you even being more than that. Like, you know what I mean? So I like to think, I think about the worst things that can happen. And if people are like, what do you think? I'm like, but what if this can happen, dude? Like, you need to be prepared.
Actually, I'm like, I feel like I'm getting flashbacks. Alan, like, you would always be like that at our store. You're like, what if you guys do this? Or like, what if you guys like stay close to this person? What if you, and I think, I feel like it was very always positive, and it was just so nice to always have you around.
But it can get sometimes negative in the sense of like, some people don't want to hear things they're not ready for.
Yes, but I don't want to like rub some people the wrong way. I think I'm like, okay, no, I think that if someone cannot take any advice or anything the right way, and they know it's coming from a good place, I think that can come from a lack of like a little bit of emotional like
like
maturity.
That's your problem.
And I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but I do think that if someone who is very mature and especially emotionally mature, they're gonna think with an open mind. They're gonna be, you know what, he's probably right. Or they're not going to take offense to anything. No one should ever, unless obviously it's delivered the wrong way. And you're like, you know what? I think it's fucking ugly, or like, but that's differently. But if it's delivered the correct way, or if it's coming off like, oh shit, he's actually concerned about me, or he's actually giving me good advice, then that's when it's like, okay, like I can take that.
People just take things way too personal when they're not. Like, I can give you advice, you know, from the bottom of my heart, and I can be like, you know what? Like, I want to tell you this because like we're talking, we're having a conversation, me estás preguntando por algo, y yo te quiero dar my honest and full, like from my heart. Y si tú lo tomas mal, yo como de que, güey, yo te estoy tratando de ayudar, you know, maybe I'm trying to get you to see it in a different perspective, like, you know, maybe, because I feel like as human beings, we're so centered on what, like, what I think it's what it is, y ya. Y no siempre es así, mi amor. Yo sé, y lo digo por propia experiencia, I'm a person that I used to hate when anyone would give me advice, but something I learned, you know, a lo largo de mi vida, es que you can never take things too personal, because even like things that feel personal can literally help you grow. You know what I mean? Because it's like, y especialmente yo lo que yo siempre digo es que yo, especially to my friends, I always want them to thrive, right? And to me, to thrive, sometimes we gotta get out of like the mindsets that we think, because it's not really like that. One thing talking about a lot of friends, you know, I like to say, again, I'm very blessed with, like, I have a lot of friends, but sometimes people like, let's take a little, ¿cómo te digo? A little example. But what I'm trying to say is just like, I just feel like people take things too personal and don't allow themselves to like take in the advice. Y a veces, amigas, es lo que tienen que hacer para poder crecer. A mí me han dicho muchas cosas que yo en sus momentos yo decía, tú no sabes nada. Tú qué sabes de mi vida. Tú qué sabes qué es la meta que yo me tengo. And then when you really stop taking it from like a place of aggression, you start thinking like, oh, you know what?
He's probably right.
Yeah, like I didn't catch that. I didn't clock that about myself. Or I'm being egotistical, or I'm not thinking about others people's feelings because I'm only thinking about myself. And it's okay to think about yourself, you guys, pero también a veces tienes que saber poner el zapato de otra persona, aunque no, even if you don't agree with them, you have to learn to put yourself in other people's shoes to see where they're coming from. And then you can be like, you know, I understand you, pero mira, todavía no pienso como tú, güey. Like, I still don't think that is the right way, you know?
You're like, but no thanks, but no thanks.
Yes.
No, yeah, I feel like, yes, because I feel like when people are ego-driven, it can affect anything. It can affect friendships, relationships. It can even affect like your workspace.
Yes.
So I always say this, I fucking hate, with a fucking passion, I hate people who are very ego driven.
Yes.
I just hate when someone has their head up their asshole, because it's like that, like being like that in life, it can only take you so far.
Yes.
And then sometimes you do have to acknowledge that maybe sometimes you are the, you know, the person doing something mad or bad or anything like that. So I feel like that's really good advice.
And it's okay though, you guys. Like, I feel like just because, you know, we're not saying that you're faulty. I'm not saying que te faltan tornillos, a lo mejor sí. Pero lo que estoy diciendo is that sometimes it's like, we as human beings, we think we're sometimes perfect, and it's like, no, yo aquí me siento y yo puedo decir que yo la he cagado. I can sit here and say I have, you know, been at fault in multiple situations, but sometimes you have to, like you said, leave the ego behind and be like, okay, you know what? What's more important? My relationship with this person, or me getting to the next level, or me, I don't fucking know what is important.
Or like me feeding the ego and being
what
like,
is important? Because you could only feed your ego so much. Se va a llenar y ahí te vas a quedar. Like, you know what I mean? So to me, I think now in this era of my life, maybe the past 3 years, I feel like a lot of people have said that I've changed a lot because of my weight loss surgery, but I feel like I've also matured a lot after, to where I see things so much differently. Before, when I was 321 pounds, I used to think everything was an attack, because I was so used to people just attacking me. I used to get mad when I was 321 and people would be like, hey, Alan, I'm a big follower of yours. Maybe you should chill on the eating. You know, I used to get so mad. Obviously, no es tu lugar decirme qué hacer, especially when it comes to weight. Like, no one should ever like comment on anyone's body. But I used to get so mad. And I used to be like, ay, me pone a pelear, amigas, como vieja verdulera. But sometimes now I look back and I'm like, I say now, why did you guys not tell me? And people in the comments, we did, but you would get mad. Like, but because I would think everything was attack. You know what I mean? But it's like, no, maybe these people were looking out for me and they're like, hey, vas a explotar. Like, yo lo tomaba malo, you know?
No, but I can agree to an extent, because sometimes it's like, I'm not asking you to, you know, comment about my body or like, but there is some people, like I said, if it's delivered the correct way, where you're just like, hey friend, like,
yes,
I do think that, right? But there's other people on social media who are like, you fucking fat ass, blah, blah, blah. And that's when you're just like, man, I'm not listening to this.
Literally. I think it also comes, you know, obviously with social media, I feel like people take the liberty of like crossing a boundary that I'm like, first of all, I get you watch me, but like, ¿quién te dijo que te estoy pidiendo tu advice? Like it's different if you ask for advice. I'm very one of those people. Like, you will never catch me like telling you like, ay, Elsie, esto es, or whatever it is, you know, if you ask me, yo te voy a decir la verdad, yo te voy a decir como yo me siento about whatever the situation is. But like, I do feel like online people take, you know, se sienten como con el derecho de comentar o decir cosas de que como de que, güey, cállate, como si tu vida fuera perfecta.
I know, because that's that's a question that I actually wanted to ask you. Like, do you think that influencers should allow like or condone all the fucking like negativity that we receive sometimes?
Mira, yo, si te soy muy honesto, I'm a big believer in I don't condone it. And I know it's very cliche to say we signed up for it. We did. And I feel like at the end of the day, I like to think of like the criticism or just the hate or just like, you know, todo el pinche drama que se inventa la gente. A mí me gusta pensar, you know what? It is what it is. Yeah. People are going to talk. People are going to assume. People are going to literally like read you down as if they know you as a person. But it's up to you if you let it affect you. It used to affect me a lot. Like, and to this day, it still does. I'm not going to sit down here and like act like, no, digan lo que digan, me vale verga, yo, me vale. No, I still like care. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I feel like we as influencers, we have to be like, how much are we going to let it affect us? Is it real what they're saying? Or is it just a fake rumor that people are believing? If it's a fake rumor, déjense, porque a mí, one thing I say about my life isn't as interesting as some rumors make it out to be.
I know. You're like, I wish.
You know what? That story is actually so good. I'm like, I need a storyline wrong with that one. Literally.
No, I know, because recently, or I feel like ever since like last year, I've been getting some diabolical comments and messages of people calling me half a uterus. You know how insensitive that fucking sounds? And then, but I do
okay,
think,
see, that se pasa.
Yeah, but I do think that I'm also very proud of myself, because I do handle a lot of shit very gracefully.
You do.
And I feel like I know how to like, I know how to stand my ground, but like with myself. Yeah. I'm not going to crash out on social media over people that, you get me? But I do think that's when it's like, oh, like, this is not what I signed up for. But then people do say like, well, it's, you know, it's social media. We have free speech, blah, blah, blah. So I think it's very, you know what? Like, I feel like I'm kind of with you where you're just like, you know what? Just go ahead.
Talk your shit.
Yeah, just say what you want to say. Even when like when there's like hella like you said rumors about me online, I stay quiet. Like, and I'm like, you know what? Okay. I'm like, fuck it. If that's what you guys want to make it out to be, I'm gonna leave it. And I'm gonna just get my popcorn and actually watch the tea with.
Yes, I'm like, I forget it's about me.
I'm like, wait, I really did that?
You're like, what is the fuck is Elsie doing? I saw you reading it.
You're I'm like, half a uterus. That's crazy.
No, I do feel, okay, one thing I will say, I do say not that I condone the hate, but one thing I will say, it's like, as a creator, I feel like it's gotten to the point that even if you fight it, like even we can sit down here and be like, I don't condone, people are gonna still do what they want to do. They're still gonna leave the hate. If anything, they'll leave it even more now, because you're like, I don't like that. Yes. So es como de que, güey, deja tu pinche comentario. I'm not saying it's not going to affect me, because like you said, that comment a la mejor te caló, because there's even comments about me que me calan, you know what I mean? Like, but I'm just like, I also like to think about who's it coming from. Is it from a blank page that doesn't even have the balls to show their face? Because a la mejor está peor que uno. Okay, that's who it's coming from. No le tomo importancia. Ya, si el comentario viene de mi amiga Elsie, imagínate, ya fuera tropedo, you know what I mean? So I do feel like you have to, as a creator, you know, like they say, you have to build tough skin, not saying that like it's not going to affect you, because it will, because you're human, but tienes que saber qué es lo que vas a dejar que te afecte.
Yes, 100. And then I also do think that you can either take it as like, you know what, I'm going to victimize myself off of this situation, or I'm going to just be like, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to just let you guys, and for the most part, I was just like, okay.
But I'm sorry you get comments like that, because there is very insensitive comments, you know, and I feel like regardless whether you're on this platform and whether you have allowed people into your life, I feel like no one has the right to comment on things like that. Ya fuera otra cosa de que, ay, se me hace fea, se me hace esto otro, or this or that. But I think like with serious things, I feel like people sí se pasan. Pero yo creo mucho en de que todo lo que tú dices y todo lo que tú, you know, you put out, se te regresa.
Yes.
So, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, like you said, whatever they do, it always comes back to them. And I also do strongly believe, especially because I feel like I've been getting very spiritually, like it's not my vengeance to do. It's not my job to be like, oh, I'm going to be your karma. Like that's not my job. Like I know exactly who I am. I know exactly what I do in my everyday life. I know what reproductive, organs I have in me. I know like if I can or if I can't have kids. Like only I know it. You get me? So I'm just like, I'm not gonna put myself in a position where I'm gonna be arguing with you back and forth, and that's embarrassing. Literally. You will never catch me arguing with someone that I don't know on social media. I barely even argue with like my family members or like friends. I'm just like, no, we're not doing this.
Yep. I feel like you have to know where you're gonna put your energy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
Like you have to know because luego, amigas, si te empiezas a pelear con todo el mundo en los comentarios, te estás rebajando a ellos. And I'm not just saying that like as a social media person. I'm even saying this if you don't do social media and you're watching this right now, I'm even saying this to your daily life. If there is people from high school or just people that are not actually your friends or people you care about that are constantly talking about you or making up rumors, en la escuela se mira y se escucha mucho de eso. Tú ni les des atención, amigas, porque yo pienso que a veces la gente que ladra quieren la atención and mientras que no se les dan, van a seguir ladrando and tú vas a seguir triunfando. So I do feel like don't put your energy into that because tú nomás te vas a rebajar a eso. You know what I mean? And I've been on that lately. Like I used to a lot of my content.
Wait, no, I do. Yes. I used to be a clapback king.
Yes, a lot of my content was driven off the hate. Yeah. And I used to love that. I used to thrive. I used to be like, you want to leave a comment about my weight as if I don't know I'm 300 pounds? Like, I'm going to go ahead and make a whole YouTube video about you and I'm going to monetize off of your negative comment. I used to thrive. I used to love. And don't get me wrong, I still probably like will. If like, si hay un comentario que me tope where I'm like, you know what? Like, I have a funny response. Like I'll still do it. I'm not saying que ya cambié, amigas. No, tampoco no me convertí en un santo. But one thing I will say, like, I feel like also back then, I would give so much attention to the negative things que yo ahí me metía. Y ahí me estancaba. Like my life and my cloud and just my just me would be so negative because I would always be again in attack mode. Yeah. What are people saying in the comments? Déjales comento para atrás. Me vale, comenten, gracias a Dios, porque si no comentan, it's because I'm doing something wrong. Yeah. So I'm like, keep commenting, please. I'm like, please.
You're like, I need it.
Literally, I'm like, I need the engagement. Thank you. Next.
No, I know, and I don't think. Well, I'm sure people with common sense could acknowledge that. Like, the more engagement you give someone, the more opportunities comes with that person. Yep. Like, and I think that they don't think like that because obviously they don't see how it is. Like, they don't see the BTS of like the brand deals, like the emos, like just how it is. Especially because I was gonna actually bring this up with your entire podcast. Like, you made it into a whole business, Alan.
Yes.
It's a whole running business. I feel like a lot of people don't get to see like the behind the scenes of how it actually is. So I'm like, I think that would be a really good topic of conversation because, for example, like last time when Louis was here, we were talking about I think he had said something funny like, oh my God, like, have you ever had like your audio go off or something? And then the video that I posted right after him, there was parts where the audio was completely off. And I'm just like I feel like people don't get to see like the technical difficulties of a podcast or anything like that. Do you feel like you struggle with something like that?
I feel like there's something going on. I feel like people forget it isn't like as easy as it looks. It's not just like setting up your own little camera, pressing play and done. I feel like for me, when I first started the podcast like so many years ago, when it wasn't even a podcast, when it was just an IGTV show, there was even more technical difficulties. And at the time, I never saw it as a business. At the time, maybe like the first 3, maybe even the first 4 seasons, I didn't see it as a business. Why? Because like it was getting filmed at my house. It didn't cost me anything to like actually like produce it other than like paying my videographer, pero luego ya con las vistas se pagaba. But back then when I was filming at my house, pues la renta todos modos la tenía que pagar. Yeah. So it was very much like no era como otra renta, you know what I mean? So I feel like when I got the studio, which we just cumplimos un año en el estudio en enero, we're going on our 2nd year at the studio. I feel like that's when, and it wasn't even until like a couple months into us filming at the studio where I was like, you know what? You got to start looking at this as a business. Because when I first moved into the studio, I was so hyped up. I was so hyped up that I was dropping, I'm not even going to lie, I dropped at least like 20 grand grand to like have that studio constructed, to like, you know, to pay the lease, to pay the deposit. I had my whole ceiling like taken off. I got draping done. Like, it's expensive. Like, y yo en ese momento, amigas, yo estaba como de que sí, yo nomás quiero lo mejor para mi podcast. I wasn't seeing the financial side, right? Like, I was just like, yes, pay for it, swipe the card, whatever. And it wasn't until like maybe like 3 months in where I'm like, oh shit, like we've already dropped at least like over 20 grand. And like we're still dropping because, you know, at the end of the day, you guys, like rent needs to get paid like in the studio. So that's already like a couple $1,000s that I wasn't worrying about when I was filming at my house. And then apart from that,
and it's like a new expense.
Yes, literally, it's a new expense. Irma works with me, my best friend, you guys. She's my full-time assistant when it comes to the podcast. So I have to pay her because no one does anything for free. You know what I mean? So I have to pay her for her time. I also have to pay, you know, the light bill, the everything. So when I started seeing, you know, the bills come in, I'm like, hold the fuck up. Like, yo nomás
like,
estaba like swipe. You know what I mean? So then that's when I was like, you know what? This has grown so much to become a business of its own, to where I gotta start treating it like a business. You know what I mean? Like, Alan is the employee. You know, Alannized is an employee now, because before it was just like, yeah, you know, you have your LLC, todo eso, but it was very much like all one thing. Yeah. And I feel like now it's like Alannized, his vlogs are so much different than Alannized, the podcast. And there a lot goes into it. You know, it's not just like, if you've ever been, I don't think I've done like a studio tour just because like for safety reasons, but I feel like when you walk in, people are always like, oh my God, like this, I didn't imagine it like that. Because
I have to go.
You have to go. No, you have to go. I feel like it's definitely a big upgrade from filming in my living room.
Yeah, I've been to
like
that
filming.
one.
Yeah, you've been to that one. And, you know, I'm so grateful. But I feel like with the podcast, I mean, I don't really have like a big team behind the podcast. You know, I do have, this is tea. I'm like, I do have like a production company when it comes to it, but it's gotten to the point that they don't really do much other than get me the ads. So everything falls on me, the editing, the producing, getting everything ready. And I feel like people don't understand how much. Right now, ahorita estoy más calmadito, amigas, but when I had the performances, because if you guys remember this season, I started doing musical performances where every week I was literally, there was someone performing in the beginning and at the end of the episode. So when that came in, I had to literally pay a videographer to film that, because I don't know how to film like music video type shit. You know what I mean?
And it also looked like a lot of production behind it.
It is. I mean, it's not like a crazy crew. I'm not gonna lie, it's not a crazy crew, but I was always very hands-on too. When we would do the musical performances, it was so funny because whenever, let's say I was interviewing you, the guests would come in like, oh, when is the performer gonna come? And I'm like, oh babe, that's already been pre-filmed. I'm like, because we wouldn't do it the same day. I'm like, I like to be in control of my work. Yeah. And that's why I feel like I also love even though I hate editing.
Alan, you do everything on your own. If you look at different like other podcasts, they have a whole studio, they have a production team, they literally have like a prompt of them telling them what to say, a whole like producing team. It is insane how hands-on you are with your business.
And I feel like also the podcast world, I feel like maybe it was more simpler now, but I feel like because podcasts have also become so huge, I feel like people are like, oh, well, we're going to amp up production. We're going to do more. We're going to do more. So I always was like, okay, how can I, every season, how can I do more? How can I do more? But also like still being super involved. If you can ask any of the people that have performed, not like interviewed but performed, I will be there in my PJs producing the whole little music video. I will be there like, oh, I don't like that, let's retake it, maybe if you can do this, do that. I'm very like hands-on. And I feel like one thing I will say, you guys, I feel like I'm so passionate about what I do, and I feel like that's also a big reason why the project, you know, aside from the guests, aside from your guys' support, I do want to also give myself credit, because I feel like because I'm so passionate about the project, I'm literally like 110% in. And
it shows in your work.
I will, and one thing I will say, you guys, I also want to give you your flowers, because I do now, you edit your own stuff, right? No, well, you edit your own stuff.
Well, I'm sitting there with the editor and we're kind of like,
okay.
I'm like, no, but I'm like, Alan, don't watch.
Like, so I'll take those flowers back.
No, I was gonna say, but do not watch our previous videos. There is a lot of technical difficulties on there.
But I feel like it's a learning process. I've had, you know, episodes that like I didn't even want to upload because the audio sucked. Going back to what you said, my season premiere of this season, my whole intro didn't film. So what did I do? Like the night before, I didn't notice until the day before. The night before, I got in makeup and filmed the intro. I've had moments where my camera won't film. So what have I done?
Holy shit!
You know what I will
for
do
an entire
for
podcast,
the whole episode? You know what me and Irma have done? We will literally go back into the office another day. We will have literally, this has happened, you guys. You guys have not clocked it though, because that's how good I am. But what we've done is we'll have the episode, like their angle and like their audio, and then every single time I would ask a question or say something, I would have to like kind of repeat it, and sometimes it wouldn't come exactly. So I would be like, let's say my physical part didn't get filmed and I was asking a question like, how was your childhood, or whatever the question was. I would have the computer next to me of like me actually asking it with no actual film, and then I would have to recreate it. So how was it? So I would have Irma sit there because I would feel awkward talking to an empty chair. So I would be like, so how did this happen? So how did that, like, and I would just insert it in the parts where I would talk and it would flow. I've had that happen to me so many times, like maybe 3 times. Can
you let us know one guest that has happened to?
So for sure I know the intro. My first episode, that was with Bella. Okay. That first one, that the whole intro was gone, which was only the intro, which was good.
Okay.
But imagine having to get in glam for 3 hours to only film like a 10-second like
a little,
spot. Like, girl,
and it has to be the exact same glam and everything.
And the frame, everything. Well, the good thing that my glam is always the same. You know, I feel like with the podcast world, you know, we're talking a little bit about it. I feel like, you know, it's become something that I started as for fun, as a little IGTV video, into like its own business, you know, and I do have plans. I hope one day, you know, it keeps elevating, it keeps growing to like even bigger and better things. But I do want to say a lot of the big reason for its success is the audience. You know, I am very appreciative how they've received it and how much they like tune in, because even sometimes if they don't know the guest, they'll tune in because they love the show.
Yes, and I feel like you're also very good at bringing on like new and up and coming creators. So you literally give them a platform, and I've actually followed a lot of creators that you have put on there, and I'm like, I've never heard of this girl. Like, for example, one of them was Sophia. When you brought her on, and her story made me cry. I think I'm not sure if I messaged her, but I did follow her. And I feel like your platform is the perfect place for that. So I'm sure, and I think that's why you're so inspiring to a lot of us, because it's like you really give these new influencers a platform for them to share their story and even to grow. Because I feel like as soon as I feel like your podcast is the podcast where just like, oh, she has to get on like Island's podcast, and once they get on it, that's how you know they have become like a successful influencer.
Oh my God, I don't want to give myself that many flowers, but but I know what you mean.
Like looking outside in, that's what it is.
I have seen, like, we've had episodes, like, okay, I'm gonna give a shout out. Sophia's one episode. Yes, we've had episodes. Angie's videos. There's been episodes.
Angie's as well.
And I've told them, you know, that sometimes the episodes, because of how real and how comfortable people are talking to me, and cuánto sueltan, and how much they, you know, they really do tell on the podcast. Like, some of the episodes blow up on TikTok even bigger than me, than my platform, and than their platform. It gives us, I remember for Angie's episode, I want to say just from an episode gaining over like 20,000 new followers on TikTok. Sofia también, but not, I don't want to say just because of me. Like, no, it's not. And that's what I'm saying. I'm glad que me das mis flores. But I always like to say sometimes these episodes, because of how real the creator is and how much they trust me with their story, it blows up to like an even bigger audience que ni yo me imagino. Like, there's episodes where TikTok will have like 12 million like people watching it. Like, I've had moments where I'm like, oh my God, it's landed on the wrong side of TikTok or whatever. But even landing on the wrong side of TikTok, you'll get those people that like resonate with your story and love you and will become like a big time ride or die.
No, I'm telling you, because I feel like I want to say all the clips of yours on my For You page, they're always over like 1 million views.
I will say, I'll say, you guys, at least, I will say, maybe with the exception of like 1 or 2, but every single episode on TikTok at least has one of the clips be over 1 million.
And then I can definitely say that whoever the guest is, they always somehow just end up just keep on appearing after they come on your podcast. So I'm telling you, your platform, I feel like you've grown your platform not only for yourself, but for a lot of creators. And I think that I know that you are going through a lot with your grandpa and stuff, but I think this is what I mean when I say, like, don't despise the blessing, because you do a lot. I'm telling you this as a friend. You do a lot, and I'm sure a lot of these creators can back me up with saying that.
No, and it is a lot of work, I mean, the editing, I've shown on my vlogs, where I take you guys like a little bit BTS vibes. I don't do it too much because pienso que como quita the magical feel of the show, what I mean? Because one thing I do with the show, I like to keep like that fantasy of like a legit show, even though it's not. But like, one thing I will say, one thing I was thinking about the other day, well, not the other day, maybe like 2 months ago, I was out the shower. I love to think in the shower. Me and the shower are like this. Like whenever I feel like that's where I debrief, I was like getting overwhelmed with how much work it is, right? Like how many hours of editing, how many hours of actually being there, because like apart from me producing, I'm also the host, right? So like I have to clock in. I'm like, damn, bitch, you really are producing a whole ass show that looks like a legit show. One thing I love when people post on their stories of watching it on their TV, because it looks so legit.
It looks like,
yes, it looks like good. I'm watching something from Televisa or something like that. So that's when I get so happy, because I'm like, wow, like I really have put so much work, production and budget and just so much heart into this project that it looks so legit que la gente se lo cree. O a lo mejor yo me lo tengo que creer también, right?
Alan, yes. I'm like, yes, like you're not faking the funk while you're doing that, you get me? Like it's your work. And I think that maybe because you handle all of like the stress because of it, so you're just kind of focusing on that. But looking outside in, honey, you are that bitch when it comes to podcasts. And I feel like for influencers, like male influencers, I have like my top 5 male influencers that I am really inspired by, and you're one of them.
Oh, thank you.
I feel like I'm like, let me name the rest. And I'm just
I'm like, who else? She's like, that's it.
No, I feel like it's a couple. Like Louis on there.
Yes.
I feel like Louis inspires me a lot.
A lot. I feel like he's also been one, we've known him for so long, and I feel like one thing I find about a lot of creators too is like when they're able to like catapult their career to the next level, because I feel like we've been doing this shit for so long that it's so easy to get forgotten.
Especially with new and upcoming creators, it's just so interesting and fascinating seeing like just new faces all the time. And I'm just like, this is so, and I feel like it's so inspiring, because I'm just like, this makes me want to work even more. It just makes me want to like do, venture out to different things. And yes, I feel like it's nice seeing all that. But yes, I really hope you leave today knowing that you're that bitch when it comes to podcasts.
I do. I think what it is, I think it's like, I just do it.
Yeah.
Like you said, I have to give myself like those flowers sometimes. And I do. No me digan, no les quiero decir que no, tampoco no. A veces sí digo no. Like I put a lot of work. And like, that's why I like to say like the podcast, yes, it has a lot to do with like the guests trusting me with their story. It has a lot to do with like el público, pero también if I don't put the drive and the hard work, pues no va a salir un episodio, right? Like, so I do like to give myself credit, but I feel like sometimes, I think because I'm so disconnected that I'm just like, no, I know like it really is very life-changing, pero a veces se me olvida how life-changing it can be, not just for the guests, but for the viewers at home, because we touch a lot of like very, relatable topics that a lot of people seem taboo. A lot of people don't want to touch or talk about, because it's very like, oh no, like you don't say that out loud. So I do feel like with the podcast, we've been able to talk about things that really are of importance, and not just chisme. I love the chisme, and bring me the chisme if you want to talk chisme.
I feel like the viewers like the chisme too.
They love everything, but I love how real people get, and it really is inspiring for the viewer at home. And one thing I always tell my guests, like, when someone, you right here, you might think that you're going through something and you think you're the only one, but when you really let it out and let people into your life, you will realize how much more people are going through similar experiences, and how much hearing them or their favorite creator talk about a similar experience really does help the viewer out, because they're like, damn, yo miraba a Elsie bien chingona, bien mamalona, but I didn't know she was going through it. Like, what the hell? Like, I see myself even more in her type shit. You know what I mean? So I do feel like it's the podcast has opened doors for me, for the guests, but also has, sanar muchos corazones al público que lo mira.
Yes. And I feel like sometimes you probably don't like grasp that because, you're listening to people's stories and it's not like if it's something new to you, but for the guests, it's their first time doing it. For the viewers, it's their first time listening to it. So I think that's why it's so successful and it's so intriguing because even I'm there like, I want to see who like Alan's going to have because I be watching your podcast stories, like your episodes, because to me it's so interesting. I'm like, what? Like I said, Sophia's episode made me cry. I don't even have a fucking dad. I'm like, why? Well, why am I crying?
No, Sophia's episode. Little fun fact on YouTube, it's our most viewed episode ever. Sophia.
Really?
So that's what I'm telling you. There's been episodes that, have been bigger than me, the podcast, and even the guests. And those are the episodes that I'm just like, it's because they poured their heart out.
Yes.
And people love the realness. People love when people are vulnerable. People love when they can be like, I can relate. And I feel like Sophia's, Angie's, Tati, Virgo Tati's, which is one that I just recently had. I can name so many that like have touched me. And I know have touched the audience. Because one thing I will say, people always call me out. Why are you not crying? And your guest is literally crying.
Oh my God, yes.
Okay.
I feel like people talk shit to me all the time because they always tell me that I don't engage with the conversation. But I'm like, I'm not here to interview myself. I'm here to talk to that person. And then sometimes when I do engage too much, they're just like, why is Elsie talking about herself? And I'm like, mejor calladita.
Calladita me miro más bonita. Yeah. No, but you know what it is? I get a lot of, like, let's say I have an episode where it's really emotional and people are crying, right? Like the guest.
I feel like that's what makes you a good interviewer because you are there doing your job.
Porque imagínate, nos ponemos a llorar los dos, no vamos a terminar el episodio. Literally, I feel like that helps out a lot, but I do get called out on that. Or also on the, like, not talking. As you guys can see, this is Elsie's podcast, but literally it's been me talking.
No, it's okay because it's a co-host episode. Yes,
and I told Elsie, I was like, if I'm talking too much, tell me to shut up.
I'm like, I'm going to just let you talk.
You're like,
even
just
better.
Take over. I'm like, turn off her camera.
No, but I think this is why I wanted to do co-host episodes. The first one was with Louis. And I just wanted to bring on someone, for example, like people who already have a podcast or have been on other different podcasts before. Both you and Louis, you guys host your own podcast. So I was just like, I just wanted to still bring on like familiar faces, and I just want it to be like a fun co-host episode. I want you to talk a lot.
I love to yap, bitch.
Yes,
and I will yap.
No, yeah, and I feel like on your episodes, the guest is doing the most talking. So it's like I know Alan loves to talk, so I'm gonna let him talk his shit today.
Let me.
No, yeah. So yeah, it's fine. You can talk all you want, honey. I'm here.
You're doing my job. Yeah, I love that though. No. But you know what? I will say, as a host, I appreciate when the guests don't stop talking.
Yes,
they always tell me oh my God, do I stop? And I'm like, no, babes, like this is your story we're telling.
And then or what about, I'm sorry,
no, go.
Me cutting him off.
No, that's what I'm like, isn't that what it is? I'm like, co-host. Yes.
No, but also I feel like there's times, because I have been getting comments on that when people are like, oh, Elsie didn't seem prep for it, because I know that you do this as well, where like obviously we talk to the guests prior them coming on. Nobody comes on and then gets caught off guard with like the topics or questions. And it was with Jaylene's and Ali's video. People were saying that Jaylene didn't really talk a lot, but it's because she didn't really, I feel like a lot of people do not know, but the guests, they are kind of in control of the conversation and the topics. The host, we kind of ask and we're like, okay, look, can we talk about this? And if they don't want to talk about it, we're not going to be like, we're still going to talk about it.
Yeah, because then they're like, I'm not going to show up.
Yeah.
No boy.
So, and I actually respect Jaylene for, her not really talking, because I feel like she gave Ali her time to shine. And I'm like, why are people seeing that so like in a negative way? And obviously with Jaylene, she's been even on your podcast, and she was recently on a different podcast. So she didn't want to talk about how she was, where she came from, her background. Like she just wanted to talk about what was going on right now. Or I believe we were talking about just like different topics. But what I really did love about that podcast is that she gave Ali her time to shine, because she hasn't really, Ali obviously has been on different podcasts, but if we're being honest, it wasn't for them to actually get to know her.
Yeah.
And I think we gave her that time the day that we filmed with her.
I think as a host, I think that is very important to like recalcar one thing. I'm gonna break the magic again. I'm over here like breaking the Disney magic. But you know, a lot of people sometimes, you know, will be disappointed. Like, why didn't you tell them or ask them about this? Trust me, I tried, I brought it up. But if they don't want to talk about it, tú como persona tienes que respetar, right? And like you said, me prior, I don't go ahead and have this whole interview like the night before. I'll get like literally this is like my booking process.
I know.
I swear to God, you guys. So what I'll do, I'll tell them like, hey, let me know what are things, especially because mine is very much like el recuento de tu vida.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know what they've gone through. So I can't be like, hey, I want to talk about the time you were 5 years old and you went through this because, girl, I don't even know you went through it, right? You weren't making videos at 5 years old. So I always like to be like, hey, I in my head have this vision of the storyline. Because I do want to say I'm a storyteller. So if there's one thing about me, you guys know I love telling stories. So to me, the way I see the podcast is a very storytelling podcast, right? So I like to be like, hey, we're going to touch your childhood, you know, your teen years and your life now. What are things you've gone through? What are things you want to open up about? What are things da-da-da-da-da-da? And then they'll send me and then I'm like, hey, I saw this. Do you want to say, yes, of course, or no, I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Se respeta, amigas. Y yo pienso que a veces as a host, we're sometimes put in a situation where we almost are like, fuck, like it's not going to meet the expectations of the viewers because they wanted the tea or they wanted them.
I feel like it's so scary because I'm like, I don't want to disappoint the viewers as well, especially because I'm new to the game.
Yes.
I can easily be like, boring, cut off, cut her off. So I feel like it's very, it is scary because obviously I want my viewers to enjoy the videos as well. I want them to be like, oh, that was actually really interesting. Or, but yeah, I feel like at the same time, I do have to respect whoever is on.
Y yo pienso que también lo que pasa is that, like, again, you wanna, people are so chisme driven. People are so like drama driven. And I feel like as a host, one thing I've learned, I love the drama, girl. If I can, if anyone wants to like come on the podcast and spill their chisme, I'm all up for it. Like, you know, not saying that like that's the first thing I go for, but my thing is, it's like, no todo tiene que ser drama. A veces la historia de alguien no necesita tener drama o no necesita ser exposing another influencer so you guys can relate. Like sometimes people have gone through things or have battled through things by themselves that it's like, no, like let's talk about what you've gone through. It's not always about like, hey, I saw this chisme online, which is cool, but it's like, no, there's more to the person than the chisme than the fucking everything. And then I like to say, once you tell your story, it's very much like people know you so much that then they can start understanding you, why you move a certain way or why you've done certain things. And it's like, as a host, you can only do so much because tampoco no quieres traer un invitado and make them feel uncomfortable.
And then they like, and I feel like I don't want anyone to leave out of here and be like, oh, I didn't feel comfortable, you know, talking like, about that.
You know what's so funny? Not even to like create drama. There was one time I was invited on a podcast. This was maybe like 3 years ago. And I had like saw someone at an event and I was still very like, oh, I don't know if I want to do it, like da-da-da, whatever. And not that uno esconde cosas, you guys, but like you have to like understand, like as someone that's in the public eye, there's sometimes things you don't want to talk about because people will dissect it more than it needs to be dissected. And you don't need that extra drama in your life, right? So I remember I had met up with this person and I was like, oh my God, how was it filming like with that person? Oh my God, it was bad.
I don't know if it has happened to you where you bring on guests and they don't get along and now you're just kind of like, oh no, this is not good. Like it looks so messy on my end, but these people were already scheduled and now I'm like, well, I can cancel on them now because it's like, and then it just ends up looking so messy. Like it just happens to be wrong timing.
Yes, that's happened to me, right? Like I've been in situations and like to me, the type of person I am, like I am going to be left with the connection we shared in that moment and that connection we share after that moment, you know what I mean? So it does suck when sometimes like people that I've had on the podcast y todos me cayeron bien and I see them fighting and I'm like, no, you know, whatever
like
it is. But it's happened too before where I've had guests expose, you know, someone else that I haven't brought on my podcast or whatever. And I've been in like, it happened one time. I'm not going to say too many names, but like, I had interviewed someone. They they literally exposed their ex. You know, yo nomás estaba ahí escuchando el chisme, mi amor. Yo como de que... like, obviamente juzgando a la persona también en mi mente, right? Because like, si tú me cuentas un chisme de alguien, I'm like, oh shit, they did you like that? Like, that's fucked up. But also, like, yo soy el tipo de persona que si tú me cuentas eso, and I feel like it's different for podcasts because it's not like every guest is my best friend. Yeah. Right? It's like a lot of the time, I guess, I'm meeting them that day and they're telling me their story. They're telling me what they've gone through. So, like, obviously, I have that connection. Like, oh, fuck. Like, I can't believe they fucked you up. They did you that wrong. Or I can't believe this.
A lot of people do not know what happens behind the scenes. And you're just like, shit. And I also feel like another reason why you are very successful with like your podcast, even like your own personal social medias, is because you have been very open about you being a DACA recipient. Yes. And you actually recently spoke about it again.
Yes.
And I'm like, how is the process of all that? Because I remember when my mom got her papers, it was when Bush was president. Oh, that's shit. How long ago it was. And I remember being so young and I went with her even to like, I think it was the convention center. And it was a bunch. I feel like that's a childhood like core memory because my mom was so happy. And I also did see that Danny recently got his mom's citizenship.
And Danny too.
Oh, yes.
They all got it together. Yes.
How was the process with all that? Because I know right now you're currently in the same process as Danny was, right?
So a little bit backstory. Obviamente ustedes saben, amigas, that I am a DACA recipient, but I really wasn't open about me being illegally here up until like maybe like, I want to say I publicly talked about it maybe like 2 years ago.
I know because I was gonna say when I first met you, I had no idea.
For so long, people in the comments, because Danny has always been super open about like being born in Mexico, you know, his proceso y todo eso. But also me and Danny kind of have like, we had different like upbringings. So I remember I didn't talk about it online only because I'm gonna be honest, you guys, and I feel like this is something that a lot of people can relate, and it's something that like people that come here undocumented, it's kind of like a miedo and a fear we have. So yo llegué desde chiquito, right? So I really don't know any other life other than like being
the United
in the United
States.
Yo llegué, I want to say I started kindergarten here. So what was that, like 5 years old, whatever. Cuando yo llegué, amigas, obviamente no sabía nada de español, no sabía nada. And I remember at the beginning, you know, obviamente everyone that I knew that I didn't have papers. But I feel like when I first started school, I would get a lot of like the kids bullying me because I didn't know English, because, you know, no era de aquí or whatever. And as a kid, yo siento como que eso me traumó mucho. As a kid, I feel like that traumatized me, where it almost made me feel like being undocumented was un delito. Well, it kind of, whatever it is, but it just made me feel like it was so bad. Like you're this horrible person because you're illegal, because of how people would make me feel, right? Like I would have friends that would joke about it, and obviously they would joke, but because the joke actually, you know, affected me, like it was my real life, it wasn't a joke to me, even if it was a joke to them, right? Like all the little like wet bag, vete pa atrás a tu país, like you don't even speak English, all those little comments that, you know, as kids, uno de niño, amigas, yo pienso que uno de niño no tiene filtro, right? And, you know, at the time I would giggle about it, or I would kind of make like a joke back, but deep down inside, because I knew that was my status, because I knew that was my life, like it would affect me. So I feel like at the beginning, I wasn't very, you know, at the beginning I was very scared, or I was almost, I want to say at one point I was almost like embarrassed to like say it publicly, because I was like, bitch, what if people are going to make fun of me or make me feel less than them only because of a legal status, right? Yo eso lo tenía muy tramada en mi cabeza, y luego aparte de eso, el escuchar siempre a tus papás decirte, no le digas a nadie, eso no se dice, porque va a llegar la migra y te van a llevar, like all that, you know, hearing your parents being so scared to even go to work, or constantly be saying like, hey, don't tell anyone you're illegal, don't tell anyone que no tienes papeles, o cómo estás aquí, like, and then seeing kids like make fun of you. And keep in mind, a lot of the time the kids, no, not a lot of the time, all the time, the kids that would make fun of me were Hispanic, right? Because I grew up in, you know, nunca eran gringos. For a long time, whatever, keep it short and simple. For a long time, I wouldn't really talk about like my social, you know, I wouldn't really talk about my legal status, right? And for a long time, since Danny was always very open about it, people in the comments would be like, why doesn't Alan like fix some papers? Why doesn't Alan fix some papers? Little did they know que pues yo tampoco tenía, ¿verdad?
Yeah.
And I feel like the reason why I finally like opened up and I stopped letting that kind of define me, I feel like as I started getting older, you know, obviamente my group of friends would make little jokes about it, or like they would en las conversaciones hacían comentarios, or not just even friends, just people that knew that I wasn't, you know, documented. I feel like for a long time, I would let that kind of be like, oh shit, like, no digas nada porque se van a burlar de ti. And then also online, I didn't really open up about that because, like I said, when I first started, my content was a lot of hate driven. You know, a lot of people loved watching me, a lot of people loved me, but I also had a lot of haters that would come at me on my way, at this, at that, because I would post so much, so they would literally see my whole life. And I always said, okay, the moment I open up about me not having papers online, de eso se van a agarrar. Y no me van a bajar de esos comentarios. They're going to keep, you know, talking shit about me being an immigrant, right? So I think over the years when I started kind of, you know, I guess being successful in my way, you know, as I started growing up and seeing that, like, you know what, like, even though having that legal status does te felicita la vida, that doesn't mean that being illegal defines who you are or who you're gonna be. And I started seeing like, bitch, like the people that are making fun of you, like, they ain't doing shit with their life. Y tienen papeles. Like, you know what I mean? You start thinking, you're like, wait, like, dámelos. Like, you know what I mean? Like, give me. So that's when I started kind of being more confident about it. And that's when I kind of stopped and I let go of my childhood traumas when it came to like that. Because I was like, you know what? Like, I'm not going to let, you know, that define me. You know what I mean? Like you said, I'm successful in my way. Yes. I'm doing so good for myself. En un país donde a la mejor no soy bienvenido. You know what I mean? But it's like, I'm here y pues, you know, gracias a Dios, I was able, when I was really young, I was able to apply to Daca and I was able to legally be able to work here and just kind of do what I got to do to like survive. So I feel like Daca is something that I'm super grateful for. Y no sé qué fuera sido mi vida si no tuviera Daca. You know, so that's something that I'm really grateful for. And as I started growing on social media, I'm like, you know what? My voice matters. And I know there's a lot of people at home watching or just that are in the same situations that feel like como que no hay un futuro because of their legal status. And it's like, no, bitch, like there is. Like, miren a uno, you know, no necesitas ser ciudadano americano. Maybe it's different because, you know, even then I'm privileged because I have DACA. You know what I mean? Like, you're privileged porque tú tienes tus papeles. Yo soy más privilegiado que la persona siguiente porque a lo mejor yo tengo mi DACA y la persona siguiente no.
Right.
You know what I mean? And DACA really, the program has really como que nos ha ayudado mucho. And that's one thing I always, ever since I was like, you know what, I'm going to open up and I'm going to tell my story and let it be known because it is important to like where I'm at today. Yo siempre digo que DACA has really, you know, really has shaped my life and really means a lot to me. Y yo siento como que no estuviera en el lugar que estuviera si no tuviera eso. So I'm always saying, like, I feel like DACA, we should have a legal pathway to like citizenship because a lot of DACA recipients, a lot of dreamers have been here y no conocen otra vida other than like their life here. Pagamos taxes. A lot of times somos personas que no quieren ni agarrar un pinche ticket. I don't have any like legal, like I don't have any tickets, not even a speeding ticket because tengo miedo because there's so much on the line. So I feel like a lot of DACA recipients are like very like, no, I have to do things by the book because si no, me van a quitar esta oportunidad que apenas me están dando. You know what I mean? So I feel like, you know, as I started getting older, I started being so much more confident with where I come from. And that doesn't mean that I was like ashamed of being, you know, Mexican. I feel like only people that have been in my situation will understand, you know, the fear and the trauma that like growing up being undocumented like has on you, especially with times like today. You know what I mean? Like the world is so crazy right now, you know, even me that I'm protected and I know I've seen that, you know, yo sé que hay mucha gente que se sienten con esa impotencia de que, güey, like, ¿qué estoy haciendo aquí chasing the American dream cuando ni me quieren aquí? Pero es tu tierra también porque no conoces otro mundo other than here.
I know.
Even though I love my Mexico and, you know, I'm very proud of where I come from, I don't know a life outside
like
of
in
here.
Mexico.
So my life and, my country is like the US and, like, obviamente me gustaría ir y quiero ir a Mexico, but it's like, it just sucks that like us, people that grew up undocumented in the States, like tengamos que pasar por cosas así, pero you know what I mean? Like I always say, va a haber a light at the end of the tunnel. Y ojalá que sí la tengamos, not just for DACA recipients, but anyone here that is looking for a better life,
Oh, I know, especially because I feel like you are doing everything that is being asked for DACA recipients to do, like to, work, to go to school, to pay taxes, especially that. There's just so much, like you have to live it to actually experience it.
Yes.
And I've lived with my mom, she was an immigrant herself. And I do think that it is unfair for DACA recipients who do work and who are doing what they are being asked to do, and for them to still not be able to get that citizenship, or they're making it even harder now. And it's like, why? Like there is so much, like they're doing what you guys are asking to do. Like, so what now? Are you waiting for them to get a ticket?
Yes.
To be like, okay, get out. You leave the country.
Yeah, American citizens get so many fucking tries.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They go in and out of jail and they're good, which I get it. And I feel like independently, like not just for DACA recipients, but I feel like a lot of undocumented Latinos or just undocumented people that are here in this country are really all just trying to like have a better future. A lot of the time, I feel like the media and just like people try to be like, oh, all the criminals and all the bad people are Latinos or the minorities, like the people that are undocumented. But it's like, no, like hay mucho gringo que anda de vagabundo, hay mucho gringo que anda matando, haciendo cosas, pero no se les pone mucha atención porque nos quieren poner a nosotros como el enemigo. You know what I mean? And a lot of people come to this country to work hard. They're not coming over here to be like, I'm gonna fuck shit up. There might be some people, but not every immigrant that's here comes with that. They come here with the, I'm gonna be on track of everything. Voy a hacer todo like by the book, or at least they try, but my main goal is to like survive y tener una mejor vida. And it just sucks como los tiempos de ahora, like cómo está cambiando todo. You know what I mean? It is very sad to see. Luckily, it was crazy because my suegros and so Danny, my suegra and my suegro, they were able to get their citizenship, their residency. Todavía no son ciudadanos, tienen su residencia. They were able to get it through Visa U. So long story short, Danny's been very vocal about it. A long time ago when Danny was maybe like 15, 14, my suegro got shanked. Lo apuñalaron con una navaja aquí en una fiesta. And ellos en ese tiempo no sabían nada. No sabían que podían agarrar residencia. No sabían nada.
Oh, that's right, because the crime was formed against
like
you.
They didn't know, right? Like people don't go out there and be like, I'm going to be a victim of crime just to get papers. Like they really didn't know. So when they went to the hospital, entraron la trabajadora, or I don't know what it was, but like the people that come and be like, oh, what happened, whatever. Y les dijeron que podían aplicar. And 10 years later, they got the residency, which is so crazy how timing and how just life works, because they got it during when this whole fucking thing was going on. So I feel like for them, it was very much like they were very much like, are we going to get it? Like now with the new president, is it going to still be a possibility? Y gracias a Dios que sí se les pudo. And I'm so happy for them,
And you're going to be next, Alan.
Yes,
I promise.
I hope. It's so funny. I was talking to Danny because I get asked this a lot. And I haven't really talked about it, but a lot of people are like, Alan, how do you feel now that like Danny can go to Mexico and you can't? A lot of people probably might think that I'm bitter or that I'm just like jealous or anything. And deep down inside, you guys, when Danny and his parents got like their papeles, I was so hyped up. I was so happy because I know how much it means for them and just for anyone that's been in this country trying to like feel almost seen and feel like, because I feel like it sucks that we need a paper to feel like, okay, I'm legally here.
Like,
but that's our reality,
I'm a human.
Yeah, like I'm a human.
Yeah.
But that's the reality. So I know how hard and how much they've gone through to like be able to go there. A lot of people thought like that I was gonna get jealous. No, like if anything, Danny didn't want to go until I had like my paperwork, and I'm like, babe, don't wait on me because we don't even know if that's gonna be in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, or maybe never.
Yeah.
Ojalá que sí. You you know, but like, yo le dije a Dani, ¿sabes qué, babe? Tú tienes esta oportunidad. A ti se te dio, go. Ve con tu familia. They're actually planning a trip to Mexico in May. Danny's going for his first time porque mis suegros ya fueron. They're going to go out there for a quinceañera. And I'm so happy for them. But I tell them, and I'm very honest. I'm like, I am so happy. Like, I'm so happy for you. You know, I am so excited. Like, I can't wait for you to tell me. But like, a little part of me, the human in me, like, doesn't mean I'm not going to get FOMO. Doesn't mean I'm not going to feel some type of way. Not in a negative way, not jealousy, but just kind of like, I feel like me and Danny, like for a long time, because he was also on Daca, then got visa U. He didn't have el permiso de salir in and out of the country ever. Like, I feel like that kind of was like our little like, oh, like we both can't travel outside the country. So like, let's travel here, right? Like to the 50 states. So I feel like, obviamente, like that was something me and him, like, you know, not bonded, because I'm not going to say like our whole relationship was like based on like, oh, we're both illegals. Like, no, bitch, like I don't mean it like that, but like what I mean,
was just one
like,
of the many things you guys had in common.
Yeah, in common. Yeah. So obviously now that he is gonna go to Mexico, I'm so happy and I'm so excited for him. But I know when he's out there, I'm gonna be like, oh, like seeing the stories.
I'm having FOMO.
Wow, I'm having FOMO.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited for him. Y yo sé que un día, yo sé esperar y yo sé que mi momento va a llegar.
Yeah, all in God's timing, Alan. Oh my God, I feel like we've been sitting here for a long time. We just like took a little break and we checked the cameras. We've been filming for 2 hours.
But I was telling Elsie, you guys, that they're like, no, we hate it. It's too long. I was telling her that people love long episodes. I'm like, damn, that's algo con tu vida. Just kidding. But I love it. Please stay here till the end. Like, don't leave.
Honestly, I feel like they do, because with Shawty's episode, it was only 30 minutes, Alan. I know, but you know how earlier you were saying that like having technical difficulties on our podcast, and with Shawty's episode we did.
Wait, what happened?
So we just had like a bunch of like random scenes where, well, we did have to cut her episode short, and I even text her and I'm just like, hey, Shawty, is there any way you can come back? And then she was busy. So I think it was the day that she had like an event with Creators Inc. And we ended up not refilming it, and it was cut to 30 minutes.
¿Pero por qué? ¿Qué pasó? Like, it didn't
I
film
think
or what?
So part of the audio wasn't filming, so it was like, it would just be like this. It would be like da, 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 and then like there's no audio on there, and we were just like, well, we can't post that. And it was just like a bunch that we had to cut out. I'm telling you guys, I've been having really bad issues with technical difficulties, so I'm so sorry.
But it's okay though, because I feel like you're still very, like you said, you're still very brand new. Like, you're gonna have those technical difficulties until you get like your A1 lighting, your A1 like frame, your A1.
I know.
Todo. But it's a learning process, bitch. You got this.
Thank you. And I know, and I feel like the one mistake that we have been, well, not mistake, but like we've been editing like overnight. So we're like sleep deprived editing. We're just like, yeah, everything looks good. Like you know, everything looks good. When we post it, we're like, oh, everything does not look good. We're like, nope, we missed it. Like, and then so I feel like that's a little tricky.
Are you editing like the night before the episode goes live?
No, so we edit as soon as like the guest leaves. Well,
you're like, so right now we're gonna start.
I'm like, so actually I have to cut it right now.
You're like, so leave. You're like, you overstayed welcome. But you know what that is though? That happens to me too. I edit Thursdays. The episode goes live Friday. Editing days are anywhere from like, I want to say like 10 to 14 hours for me, because I do all the TikToks myself. Then I'm
that's
doing,
right. Like all the clips,
captions, the clips. So just the clips takes me like 4 hours. Then I'm a very big perfectionist on the episode. Like I feel like mine are like, I'll take up parts that I'm like, oh, this doesn't do anything to the story. Like it was just like dumb convo that like was a filler convo vibes. So I'm very like, como te digo, boom, boom, boom. But I've been telling Danny, I was like, I think I'm gonna start editing like maybe in the beginning of the week, like a Monday or Tuesday, so I can have like más a gusto editarlo, because it is very stressful editing the night or the day before it goes live. Like that day you texted me at 5 o'clock, you were finishing your episode, girl. I was knocked out at that time.
No, I know. And then we had no other choice, because we had to upload it that same day, and we were just like, shit.
It's the deadlines though too, huh?
It is. I feel like since we have been on social media for a very long time, I always wonder like, what are we gonna do after social media? And I think it's so interesting getting like a different creator's intake on that.
Okay, so I feel like for me, I do think about like my future, right? As a content creator, I love what I do, especially with this podcast. I feel like a lot of people always come at me with, where are the vlogs? Where are the vlogs?
Oh, okay.
We miss the vlogs. Although I do miss them, you guys, I also feel like, you know, I think as I am... This is actually tea. Oh my God. Okay. Not tea, but there's even... I'm thinking of like... stopping the vlogs on the Alannized channel.
Oh, and start a whole new channel for
and
that.
start a whole new vlog channel because I really want to like make it look clean. You know, I feel like we work so hard on the podcast that like I want to like it looks so easy to find in everything. And I have thought about like, you know, maybe privating all my videos, my vlogs. I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, not your vlogs. I have like over 1,000 fucking vlogs. So fucking a lot of people when I don't know, when I was telling my friend, she's like, don't do that. Like, that's my childhood. Like, Miss Munchies, because she watched me. Because I became really good friends with her and I was telling her about it. And she was like, don't. Like, that's literally like, she'll send me videos of rewatching my old vlogs or whatever. But I do want to go full force with the podcast. My vision is TV, right?
That would be amazing.
TV, like that's my vision. That's my goal. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I'm grateful with whatever God gives me. But that's my goal, TV. So I think for me, like my main goal is and has always been television. But I feel like if I, for whatever reason, I don't ever make it to like television host or whatever it is in like the television world, I feel like I will be very grateful with like still being able to do podcasts because I was talking to my cuñada and I'm like, if you really think about it, I can be like 40, 50, sitting down in a chair interviewing people. You know, maybe I won't wear the crazy makeup anymore because, you know, ya con las arrugas y todo eso, amigas, ya no se me va a mirar igual. But maybe I can grow out my beard. You know, a lot of people were loving the beard era. So I can still be doing this. So I do feel like with me doing the podcast for so many years, I'm also kind of building some sort of like longevity. Because, you know, like let's say the influencers of tomorrow that are probably like 10 that are watching the podcast or 12, and let's say they grow up and they're like, oh my God, I used to love Noche de Pendejadas. I want to be on it. You know, like it's just like
it's kind of like Gordo.
Yes,
Gordo
it's kind of like you grew up watching it. Yes, like you grew up watching it. You're like, oh my God, I want to be there one day. And I feel like sometimes, you know, when I had that realization, when you remember how I was mentioning earlier, how I'm like, I've had guests that would be like, oh my God, like I can't believe I'm here. Like I used to watch you. Like you literally got me through this. You got me through that. And like because like yo pienso que a veces uno no mira el impacto como tú dices that whatever you put out there. Like I feel like for me, like I make my content, I'm like, okay, like I'm sharing my life, but I don't see every day how that can impact someone. So I feel like sometimes we're like, oh, that's like crazy that like people think, oh, me miran con esos ojos, which I'm so grateful. And like I feel like I said, I've worked my ass off for that. But I feel like now when I really think about it in a mature way, I'm like, wow, like I really can create longevity with like being that iconic podcast host, you know, that like the new generations will want to come on and be like, oh my God, I would love to sit down with Alan because growing up I saw my favorite influencer go on his podcast or whatever the case is. So I don't have any plans of, you know, stopping the podcast. My main goal right now is bringing back the performances. You know, we had stopped doing them just because we were running with copyright issues.
I know, because I was gonna ask you, like me knowing how AdSense works on YouTube, I'm like, how did you get away with not getting copyrighted?
So a lot of the time, since it was live music, like obviously not that they weren't playing like bomb in person, they do play bomb, but obviously it's not like the same beat always as the one that gets recorded. But what was happening, this is actually one of my main questions I get asked all the time, and I don't really like talk about it too much, but it goes back to like a little bit behind the scenes of the project. You know, when I started doing the musical performances, I was getting flagged in almost every other episode. Not every musical performance was flagging me, but every other episode. Sometimes it wouldn't be even the artist that was singing live. It would be like, let's say they were doing a cover and like, oh, now you're getting copyrighted by the actual disquera, whatever the case is, which I get. But what was happening is, we're talking about when I first started doing the performances, I wasn't thinking of having anyone, like, I mean, at the beginning, I wasn't thinking of having, which is crazy because when I first started talking about like the musical performances, my goal was like to bring like up and coming grupos, like the grupos that you like would contratar for your like parties or whatever, just to get them booked or just to give them that exposure. Like at the beginning, I wasn't thinking that a Marisol Terraza from Horóscopos de Durango would be my first musical performance.
That was iconic.
That was like an I Made It moment. We had Los Primos del Este. We've had like a lot of iconic people that have performed on the the podcast. But what was happening, ya ahora sí, going and looking back at like, you know, the business side. So I was producing a 2 to 3 hour episode, right? And the musical performances would be maybe 2 to 3 minutes max out of like those 2 hours.
Oh,
so with AdSense, lo que estaba pasando es de que se llevaban casi todo el dinero. La disquera se llevaba casi como el 90%. Pretende que un episodio, I'm just throwing out numbers. Let's say an episode would like make you $1,000. The copyright would take like, let's say, I don't know, like $800. Y te quedas con $200. That was not even enough to pay my assistant, let alone the freaking like the rent. So for a lot of episodes, I was taking the L. I think I did it like maybe from all the 10 performances, maybe I got flagged like 6 out of the 10.
That's actually
so
a lot.
I was
like
taking
in the business
the L for
it's a lot.
every single one of them. But to me, I was like, no, I don't want to take them out, or I don't want to like not put it in, because the vision is the whole show entirely. I was thinking about like how cool it looks, like so I was like, who cares? I'm gonna take the L, like me vale, right? But then when like financials started coming in, I'm like, girl, I'm losing money.
Yeah.
Like,
no, yeah, because if
the hell.
And then just for those who don't know what AdSense may be, AdSense is just a program where we get paid through YouTube.
Like it's like the YouTube views vibe. So I was losing money. So then I was like, you know what? We have to figure out a way to like be able to bring these up and coming artists, to give them the platform, because it is also like a platform that we are giving them to like showcase their talent y todo eso, with still being able to like monetize to the point that it's like it makes sense to the business. So you know, it's so funny after that, because I feel like a lot of labels started getting like those copyright claims. They started looking into the content of Noche de Pendejadas, and I had like really big labels like reaching out like to try to work. So right now we're like trying to work out a way where it's like, you know what, like this is like not just like an opportunity to me, because I am very grateful that these labels want to work with me and my show, but it's also very much in a way donde todos podamos ganar. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, como te digo, it is a business. So for everyone wondering and asking about the musical performances, you guys, don't think I am not thinking about them. Every single day I think about them, like, oh my God, like who would have opened this episode? And it is something that I want to happen again, because I feel like that completed the show look. Because it's like, girl, imagine like before we go into the trauma, before we go into the episode, like you have Marisol Terraza, me pinto el labio, toqué de rime, like,
Dude,
like
that
so
was
iconic. I love it.
Like, because I remember even before you released it, we were talking about it in the car.
Yes.
And I was just like, Alan, do it. Like that would be, and it would just be so different, and people would love it. And then when I saw that you released it, I was just like,
so I do want to get back to a point where it's like, even if the podcast,
what if you like separate the performance?
I was thinking like kind of like how SNL does it, where they post it by it's like a YouTube by itself. Yes. And then the thing is, to me, it's like I like to see the thing as a whole. Yeah. Right? Like let's say the episode is gonna get an X amount of views. Like the whole purpose of them being on there is so it can look like a show, and so they can get the engagement. Let's say if it's an up and starting group, people might not click on that episode, on their second clip of them performing, because they're like, girl, who the hell is this? Sometimes it was like a way for these like grupos to get discovered. Yeah. Because like, let's say the audiences are watching because, I don't know, let's say you were coming on and they want to know more about Elsie, and then just that musical performance was like the extra, or vice versa. Maybe people were tuning in to see the musical performance and then they got the guest as a plus, you know. So I'm always thinking about like, that was one of the things that I was going to do, but I'm like, that just doesn't look, that's not my vision. You know, that would just be me trying to monetize at full capacity, but not me with losing the show. Is what I'm saying. So I think that's my main goal. I do want to bring that back to where it looks like an elevated show. Maybe I even come in walking and I'm like doing the whole thing. Maybe I don't know. I have a lot of plans for the podcast, you guys.
That's good, because I feel like work on it. You could be the Hispanic Jimmy Kimmel.
Yes, I love that.
Yes, I especially if you're thinking television. Yeah. Like that's the bit. Like I could definitely see you going that big and taking that next step, especially because you have been in this industry for so long, and I feel you're very respected as well. Not only with traders, but also with the viewers, with new and new and upcoming creators, artists, and stuff like that. Because, like I said, you give a lot of people these platforms, and I think that's why you receive the success that you're getting.
Thank you.
But so I'm so happy to even see that and to even hear that, because I feel like you can definitely make. I can definitely see you being the next the gordo in the flaca. Like,
yes,
I could definitely see that. I feel like that would be so cool, and it'll just be nice seeing like another Hispanic creator make it that big.
No, that is like
so
a dream.
cool.
That is like a big dream that I have. Y ojalá que Dios te escuche y que pase.
I know. Well, I'll pray on it, honey. I've been very good with my prayers recently. He's been listening. I'll pray for you.
I'm like,
tonight,
you better. I'm like, he better listen. He all does it. He's like, God's like,
he's like, anyways. No, I'm kidding. But yes, you guys, that was it for today's new co-host episode. Alan was my second co-host ever, and he's gonna come back next week.
Yes, I'm gonna be. No, I feel like people are gonna be in the comments dragging me que no deja Elsie hablar, amigas. Pero es que cuando me das la oportunidad de hablar, no me callo.
No, but so that's the purpose of the co-host episode. Like,
I love it though.
Yes, I want it to be like it's just two friends chatting. Like, I don't want it to be like, tell me about last time.
Like, how was your childhood?
Yeah,
I don't want it to be Noche de Pendejadas.
I'm like, I'm not taking Alan's job because he does it too good for anyone to take it. But yeah, no, that was the whole point of it. I actually love that you did engage a lot, and yeah, because I'm like, I just sat here and looked pretty. No, I'm kidding.
I feel like also a lot of people are always asking like, oh, I want Alan on the other side of the mic. Like,
yes.
Alan. So I'm like, I'm giving y'all what y'all wanted.
And plus we gave him a long video.
We did, you guys. We were talking that I love long videos. I don't know about you guys. Let us know in the comments down below if you guys like longer videos, so Elsie can start delivering the
I know,
making her job harder. I'm like, so we can put her to work.
I know, because I think my longest, I think it's only been like an hour and 20 minutes.
So is this gonna be like your new longest?
Yes. Oh, you know what? Yes.
I love record breaking.
And I did it with Alan. So period.
I love it.
No, I know. But thank you so much for coming on, Alan. Thank you guys
so much for having me.
I was gonna say thank you guys.
Thank you guys for coming to
you guys. I am like disassociating because earlier I was just like, Alan, I feel like, well, not earlier, I literally just said it, but I was just like, I had to look at my nose because I feel like I was gonna pass out. It's because I only ate like a little sandwich for breakfast,
and then like, also the lighting I think throws you off.
I'm
like,
just
I start seeing, that's what I mean about also when I'm filming with like my guests, that sometimes like I disassociate, or I'm not even disassociate, I'm kind of just like, what the hell, because te ciegan las luces.
Yes, I feel like I was seeing stars right now. I literally feel like I was gonna pass out, so I'm like, let me just see if I'm still here. But yeah,
you're here. Yeah. Todavía no, que pass out after I leave. Que no quiero ser responsable. Just kidding.
Okay, I will. I'll wait till
Okay, I will. As soon as I walk out, I'll drop down.
No, but seriously, thank you so much, Alan. And if you guys, since Alan did bring up about him wanting to switch his videos, let him know down in the comments if you guys want him to keep his channel, because I feel like that would be a really good idea as well.
I do. Let me know, you guys, and also let us know if you guys like today's episode. I might just run up the comments. I'm like engaged.
Yes, and I'll also leave all of his social media. I'm sure you guys already know who Alan is, but just in case you guys don't, he does have his own personal podcast called Noche de Pendejadas. Yes. And it's everything. You guys have to go check it out. And yeah, thank you so much, Alan, once again for coming.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you guys so much for listening. ¿Verdad? Como que a veces se necesita, ¿verdad? El hablar y hablar y hablar. If you're new here, if you don't know me, pues hola, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo Alan. Y pues si eres ya de una de las viejas seguidoras, hola, ¿cómo estás? I love you guys, and thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Hold on.
She all passes out right now. I'm like, I said to wait. Imagine till I left.
Dude, that hurts so bad.
It twitched?
I don't know.
I'm like, a seizure. I'm like,
we've been filming for a very long time.
No, we have, you guys. This is a long episode.
I know, because even my makeup is kind of melting. But anyways, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you guys. I'm like, because he's coming back.
I'll come back, you guys. Just invite me.
But thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next time on Me and Who Else. Bye.
Bye.